Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Bache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nava Israel. I am based in Canada, although I have been based in 3 different countries throughout my life. And my story is part of that. Part of my story is that journey that I've had throughout my life for now nearly 6 decades. So I was born in what used to be the Soviet Union and behind the Iron Curtain. And I got to understand and know what communism looked like, but more than communism, what dictatorship looked like. And then my family and I, when I was about 8, at great peril, we immigrated. We moved out of the Soviet Union and moved to Israel, which is, again, a very different culture, a very different place, where, again, there's a lot of struggle for survival. And I grew up there, and I have learned many different things about different cultures, about how people understand the world. And I have seen patterns throughout my whole life. That was my passion. I saw patterns in things, and I tried to connect them, and I tried to make sense, not just generally of the world, but particularly of people. And my greatest desire in life was to make this world a better place, which I believe is the desire of so many of us. And I think especially women, we are the mothers, the educators, regardless of whether you have children or not. We are the mothers of this earth. We are the keepers of Mother Earth. And my desire for healing, being able to heal and being able to change this world, led me into a clinical profession, because that was the only way I understood healing at that time, was through a medical profession. So I became a clinical dietitian. And again, I've learned so much, not just content, but people, patterns, behaviors, predictability. As I moved through my career, I've completed a PhD in epidemiology. Now, epidemiology is basically statistics, but it is statistics that connects one phenomena with another. And my PhD was really understanding people's behaviors around nutrition, but nutrition was just the background. It was the behaviors that fascinated me. And as I continued with my life, we decided, my family and I, with my 2 children, we immigrated to what I believe is the nicest country in the world, Canada. No offense to anyone else. I'm sure your countries are wonderful. But we moved to Canada and built a new life here. And so after having a big career in Israel, teaching in 8 different colleges and universities, running research, having my own clinic, etc., etc., I had to reinvent myself, truly reinvent myself, close to my 40s. And my profession was regulated because it's a medical profession. I had to register, and in Canada, it's not easy. But I did it. I fought for it. I've completed it. But then I had realized that there are so many other people like me who are struggling to find their home here in Canada, who had immigrated, cannot access their professions here, need to build their life here. And so I actually left my profession and dedicated myself to that, to supporting immigrants by building programs in colleges and universities and settlement agencies, and working with government agencies for fair access, etc., etc. And throughout all that, as I'm building and rebuilding myself, million pieces come together. And about 5 years ago, suddenly all these million jigsaw pieces materialized into a pattern. As I said, I am a sucker for patterns. And so this pattern suddenly came about, and it is shaped as a cone, and I called it the cone model. And this model is relevant to each and every individual on this planet. It is something that affects us all. And basically, explaining it shortly, it goes like this. We come up with solutions that may or may not be great, but they are solutions to at least some of our problems. And then through a predictable process, we end up turning it into an oppressive, controlling, limited dogma. And this dogma, or this system that is so constricting at the tip of the cone, because it is a model that's shaped as a cone, actually controls our lives on so many levels. Some cones we see very clearly. So a tyranny, we see a tyranny very easily. You look at North Korea, you know there's a tyranny happening there. You look at Nazi Germany, we know there was tyranny happening there. It's not difficult to see it. But what about the people inside? Does everyone know that it's a tyranny? There are so many people who are loyal to their oppressive systems. And it's not just global, it's individual. Take, for example, an abusive relationship, or a relationship with a partner that doesn't really appreciate us, someone who gaslights us, someone who makes us feel bad about ourselves and controls us. Do all abused people in relationships know they are abused? So cones are very tricky, and they are everywhere in our lives on every scale. So I decided to write a book about it. I want to show you. This is my book, and it's called Controlled: How We've Lost Our Freedom and How to Reclaim It. And in this book, I describe not just this model, because this is not a textbook. This is not an academic book, although there's a lot of research that went into it. This is a story of us, of all of us. A small portion of us controls a large portion of us in different ways and in different areas in our lives. And the purpose of writing this book is really to awaken each and every one of us to this reality, because this is a tragic reality. And not only do these cones exist, but they reincarnate. Even when we rebel against something that's oppressive. So now there's a lot of talk, for example, about, defund the police, burn the rich, eat the rich, right? And there are, justifiable sentiments, because there is a lot of abuse happening in different systems, different cones abuse. They abuse people, they abuse the environment. The more we progress with our technology, the more we get closer to decimating our earth. So something here is not working, and what's not working are these cones. And so the problem is that once we understand we are in a cone and we become really pissed about it, and we say, we're going to burn it, we either burn it or leave it or whatever, but we take our anger with us, and our vengeance and our insult and injury, and we build the next solution in line. And then what happens? We infuse it with all this negativity. And before we know it, it becomes the next cone in line. For example, cancel culture. Cancel culture started as a great social movement. It canceled people who are harmful, who are racist, who are bigots. It was against people who harm other people. So it was a sort of an informal social justice movement by canceling people online. But look where we are now. This cancel culture, because it came with all the anger and all the vengeance without the healing, it is now the new cone. It is now punitive. It is now everyone is on a chopping block. You said something that I don't like, maybe I will cancel you. So it became the next tyranny. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. We can do so much better, and we are doing better in so many communities and in so many ways. And the reason that most of us don't know it is because mainstream cones like mainstream media, education, economy, all the big systems that control our lives, they don't allow us to see what is beyond their veil because they don't want us to leave. Now, this is not about conspiracy theories. This is not about making people untrusting and angry. On the contrary, this is about us awakening, saying, you know what? No, thank you. I am leaving. I am leaving these oppressive systems, and I am looking for my tribe, who is tribe, either physical or metaphorical, people like me who have let go of that anger, who are now looking to build a new life, a better life, a new world, a new community, a new culture, a new society that loves all, includes all, and harms none. And so that is now my life's mission. And what I wanted to tell you really is, as I said, I'm nearly 60. The number of transitions that I've had in my life is enormous. I have transitioned countries, cultures. I speak 3 languages. I understand multiple cultures because I worked with immigrants from all over the world, very intimately understanding their mindset, their mind frame. And what I see is that we all share the same thing. We are one. Despite everything that anyone will tell you that divide us, we are one. And it took me years to see it and understand it because I too was locked inside cones. And these cones told me, us, them, us good, them bad. But now, as I've aged and I've seen things and I have seen this pattern, how it controls each and every one of us, I know that there's a better way for us to be. I know for a fact that there are communities out there that are already building beautiful social structures where people are included, where they keep asking themselves, whom are we excluding? Is it justified? Can we include them? How do we forgive? So all of this is now my life's mission.
Wow. There are so many parallels to your life and mine. I grew up in Rhodesia, lived through the Robert Mugabe dictatorship, now living in New Zealand, Australia. We're scattered around the world because of the circumstances of the countries we are born in. So congratulations for, implanting yourself in Canada and building an amazing life there by the sound of it. Now, let's start with talking about your book.
Yes.
Your book is called Controlled.
Yes.
And it includes this cone model, which reveals a pattern of systems that evolved when well-meaning solutions into hyper controlled structures.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate on how this pattern manifests across the different social domains, such as politics, education, or healthcare?
Absolutely. So just short about the model so that, people understand when I say what the cone model is. And then as I speak, we will see how it applies to everything and everyone. So it all starts with our core certainties. So our core certainties are the things that we are so sure about that we never question them, right?
Mhm.
The earth is a rock. It is not a living thing. That is a core certainty. And if that's what I believe in, there's no arguing with me about that. And if someone will tell me, actually, the earth is a living sentient being, I will say, that's nonsense. Moving on, right? So the core certainties that we have are the things that we never question. And that is the first problem that we are dealing with, because these core certainties were infused into us, usually at a very young age, by people and systems that we trusted, and we no longer question them. So men who
Yes.
grow up in patriarchal societies, and I know you have been dealing with that for many years, they have
Yes.
been told that we are inferior, that we are not as smart, not as powerful, that
Mm.
we are the sinners, what we are the witches, whichever culture, patriarchal culture, dresses us up as inferior in every possible way. And these men who grew up that way, it's not their fault that that's what they
Mhm.
believe. That's what they've been told, and that's their core certainties, and that's how they live by. So the
Yes.
core certainties are the very, very base. Then, on top of that, our core certainties inform what our problems are. So we all have problems, right? Problems are
Mhm.
normal. We live an imperfect life on an imperfect planet, right? Sometimes it's a hostile environment, so we have problems. But some problems are not really problems. They're just the things that we are told are problems.
Yes.
So if you are told that these people across the border are your enemies, they become your problem, whether
Mm.
they are or they aren't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or from another religion, the sinners are the problem, or the
Yes.
women are the problem, or the whatever, right?
Whatever it
So,
is.
right? And so our problems are often not really problems. They're just fed to us by the systems that we live in. From these problems, we develop needs. Okay, I need the problem to go away. Okay,
Yes.
so you gave the example of the healthcare, for example. So
Yes.
let's take that. I have a headache. That's a problem. My need for the headache to go away. Is
Yes.
it really my problem? Yes, of course it's a problem. No one likes a headache. But
Mhm.
a headache doesn't come from nowhere. You may be dehydrated. That's the problem. You may be stressed. That's the problem. You may have a tumor. That's the problem, right?
Mhm.
So our modern medicine is geared towards treating symptoms.
Mhm.
And
Not the
so if
cause.
you think that your problem is the headache and not what caused it, then your solution, which is the next level of that cone, will be to address the headache with a painkiller. But
Yes.
then you will keep treating symptoms and not the problems, and the problems will never go away. They will worsen, right?
Mm.
So that's an example of our healthcare that is built on symptoms and not
Mm.
on solving our problems or preventing our problems. And
Right.
then from these solutions, there are always profiteers. And these profiteers are like, how am I going to make money on you? How am I
Mm.
going to get you to give me more power? How am I going to gain control over you? And these
Yes.
things happen at all levels of our life. They happen
Mhm.
within families, they happen within relationships, they happen in the workplace, they happen within social societies, communities, systems, right? If you think about it, it goes all the way up to levels that we are not even familiar with.
Yes.
And once these solutions become a system, there's more to gain and more to extract from the people inside of this system.
Yeah.
That's why it's a cone and not a triangle, because it
Yeah.
contains the people.
Mm.
And the very top of the cone is the dogma. And the dogma locks it. It locks us. It takes away our freedoms, whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know that this is not a very popular thing to speak about, and a lot of people have been, canceled based on that. But let's take COVID, right?
Yes.
COVID was this extraordinary demonstration of a worldwide cone. If you had questions, you had better ask them quietly in your bedroom, right? Because otherwise you will be called anti-vaxxer, you will be called an idiot, someone will wish you to die from the disease if you have legitimate questions, not conspiracy theories.
Mm.
So, there's a saying, science is about questioning. If you're not allowed to question, it is not science, it is a dogma, right?
Mm.
And so we see these cones everywhere, but most of us are not aware of it. I'll give you a very, very vivid example. Trump
Mm.
supporters, right?
Yes.
The people who support Trump, you can tell that this is a cult-like behavior.
Yeah.
It
Very much so.
It doesn't matter what he says and how idiotic he sounds and what nonsense he utters. You see the crowd, we're like, right? And
So.
I'm like, oh no, what is going on? This is what happens to people inside cones.
Mm.
In my book, I call it stupefying. Cones stupefy us, right? They make us stupid. Even the most intelligent people in the world can
Wow.
be stupefied by a cone, because cones have mind tricks. And we are all fallible because we are trusting human beings by nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not difficult to stupefy us.
So you describe the cone model as a recurring pattern that affects us on an individual, rational, organizational, and global level.
Mhm,
How can individuals recognize when they are caught in these controlling systems,
mhm.
and what steps can they take to break free?
Oh, great question. So one of the things that I did was in my book, there are, first of all, when you read it, you start recognizing it, right? Like there are a lot of sayings that are like, oh, this sounds familiar. Hold on, right? Is this
Yeah,
me? Is this happening to me? I know these words. I'm familiar with this tactic, right?
right.
So even reading it will help. There's a chapter where you can really ask yourself questions. But to make it even easier, I am releasing a self-diagnostic workbook where
Right.
you can really go in depth. Um, for example, there's a questionnaire, which, by the way, can be accessed for free and downloaded for free on my website, uh,
Okay.
for a self-assessment of your vulnerabilities to manipulators. Now,
Okay.
that's a trick. That's a lot of questions where you have to pick, it's like a multiple choice where you have to pick that's me, that's me, that's me. So it's a
Yes.
long one because there are so many angles that manipulators can come at us.
Yeah.
Because manipulators, they're like sharks, right? They
Mm.
smell our blood in the water. And so this questionnaire is, where are you bleeding, kind of thing, right?
Right.
What are the things that manipulators will come after you, and they will play you based on this vulnerability? And then
Yeah.
once you realize it, you can start treating it,
Okay.
in different ways.
I love that. You have to know that it's there before you can start doing anything about it.
Absolutely.
So, in your book, you emphasize that the way out of these oppressive systems is not through anger or vengeance. Can you share some alternative approaches or mindsets that are
Mhm.
more effective in overcoming these challenges?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I must say, there is no magic bullet. Yeah. It's all hard work. So, if people are looking for what are the three tips of getting rid of cones, mm, doesn't work
Political.
quite like that. But
Right.
there are road signs, right? There are directions that you can start taking. So first of all, as you said, first of all, we need to know who is manipulating us. What
Yes.
are the systems that we are blind to or that we cannot recognize? So recognition is one thing, and hopefully this self-diagnostic will help. But then there is that other thing where when we finally realize that we have been controlled, that we have been duped, that we have been exploited and extracted, there is anger. And it's a justifiable anger.
Right.
It's like a woman who is in a relationship with a narcissistic partner
Yes.
may not know she is being abused her whole life, but once she opens her eyes to it, finally, there is so much heartbreak and so much anger at herself for not having seen it, at the
Mm.
partner who has done that. And so all this anger needs to be walked through. We cannot bottle it. We cannot say, it's okay. Like toxic positivity, I don't believe in it. It's
Right.
toxic. There's a reason it's called toxic. Saying,
Yeah.
it's okay. I'm okay. I'm going to I'm just going to overcome it. It didn't happen. Moving on.
Yeah.
It's like toxic waste. You bury toxic waste, it poisons you.
It does.
So we need to deal with the anger, and it is best done with people that we trust, people
Yeah.
who love us, and professionals. We should not be ashamed of looking for professional help, for therapy, for support groups, and walk through this anger and talk about it and scream about it and hurt about it and bleed about it. But at
Mm.
the end of it, just like any grieving process, we need to be able to heal. We
Yeah.
need to be able to let go. And the only way to let go is, ironically, to forgive. And I say ironically because many people say, what do you mean forgive? Forgive that abuser, forgive the manipulators, the tyrant, the murderer. What do you mean forgive? When I say forgive, I don't mean excuse people's behavior. I don't mean
Yeah.
justify what they've done. No, they've done their shit. Pardon me. um, this is not about saying, oh, they're okay, they're okay. No, forgiving,
Mm.
meaning letting go, seeing them for who they are, for their own flaws,
Yes.
realizing that people who harm people are injured people
It's
themselves.
so true. That's why they say hurt
They're
people hurt
injured.
people.
Yeah, they need their own healing. Now, it doesn't mean that it's my role to heal them. No,
Right.
they may not heal. They
Yeah.
may enjoy their power, money, whatever, control, cruelty, and they will never heal, not in this life, maybe in the next. But if I don't forgive in the sense of let go of that anger and say, they are who they are, I was not a victim, I was a casualty, right?
Mhm.
Once you understand that you were a casualty of their
Yeah.
own disease, of their own injury, they just
Yeah.
bled on you and you were just happened to be there, right?
In the way.
And you let it go and you let it them be and you walk away, and you walk away without looking back, and you walk away lighter, and you
Yeah.
say, oh, I can now build something so much better for myself. I don't
Yes.
no longer drag this baggage with me. That is the only way, honestly. That is
Oh,
the
that's
only way that
amazing.
works.
So let's finish our interview with two last questions, and it's going to be a bit of a time experiment.
Okay.
In the first question, I'm going to teleport you into the past.
Hmm.
And we're going to meet the younger you, this young woman who came out into the world to Canada, built a life for herself, put herself on this trajectory that you're on now. If
Hmm.
you could go back and give her three nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point,
Hmm.
what would those nuggets of wisdom be?
Wow, difficult one. Okay. um, One, everything that happens has a meaning and has a purpose, even if at that moment it feels like it's the wrong thing. I've been depressed by feeling that I'm going in the wrong direction, that I'm losing my purpose, but everything I have done taught me, raised me, brought me to who I am and what I can do now. So don't fret if you feel like you're losing your way, because it's that losing the way where you find the new way. So that's one. The second would be mindful to the difference between being generous and being a pleaser. Because I was raised by narcissistic parents, and I did not know it. I grew up to be a pleaser, but by nature, I'm also a very generous and loving person. But when you are that and you're a pleaser, you lose yourself. So I would tell myself, tone down on the pleasing, boundaries. Please find your boundaries. It took me too long to find them. And the third thing, listen to your intuition. What I didn't say is that much of this knowledge and wisdom that I now have, and even the cone model, came from channeling, from higher sources. And at the early days of channeling, I was so skeptical because I'm a scientist and it doesn't exist. It couldn't exist. And I'm secular. There's no God. There's no such thing. And I was closed to it. So I would come and say to myself, forget these core certainties. There are higher truths out there. Open up to them sooner so that you don't feel like you're losing your mind with all this information that flows into you.
Oh my gosh. Quite a journey you've been on.
Hmm.
So, the last question, I'm going to teleport you into the future,
Hmm.
and we're going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. And you're sitting on your rocking chair, surrounded by your children, your dogs, your cats, your partner, whoever is going to be with you at the end. If I could teleport you to go and have a conversation with the 90-year-old you, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
I will say, thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for being on this journey with me and not being despaired by temporary hurdles. Thank you for not falling for the people who will be trolling, who have been trolling me, who are angry with what I'm saying about their precious cones. Thank you for not breaking, and thank you for making this world a better place.
I absolutely love that. You know the reason why I asked that question, Dr. Israel?
Mm,
A lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in them.
yes.
She's that little quiet voice that says, yes, no, go left, go right. And we look outside of ourselves for answers, but we just need to go within. So
Yes.
I play a lot with the energy of who I am becoming. When I get stuck, I go into my meditation and my prayers. And like you, I have channeled so many things, it
Mm,
scares me sometimes.
yes.
And I can sleep on a question as simple as, what is my next step?
Yes.
And then I wake up with these knowings, these light bulb moments. And it is a magical, magical way of being. And it inspires me when I meet another woman who is playing with this energy and
Mhm.
sharing it as well so other women can find these tools and these ways of being.
Absolutely. And that is part of, as I said earlier, these core certainties that we are fed are
Yes.
disabling core certainties, right?
Yeah.
They are telling us that nothing higher than ourselves exists,
Yeah.
or that whatever is higher than us controls us and punishes us. That's
Yeah.
even worse, right?
It's real.
Um, we are
Oh,
told that we have to earn our keep, that we have to earn the right to be loved, that we have to earn to be happy. That's all nonsense.
so
That's all
true.
nonsense that we are taught because someone profits from us believing that we have to buy our happiness, that we
Mm,
have to get our boundaries down so that we are being loved. All of these things we are taught so many nonsense that, and we are such powerful beings that, yes, when I watched your TED talk, I was like, yes, yes, exactly, exactly. I know what this woman is talking about. I admire that. Keep
thank
on, shine on. You know, yeah.
thank you so much. And thank you for coming online and sharing your powerful story with us today. I
Thank you
also
so
want to
much.
thank everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement with a vision and a mission to bring you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, inspire you, energize you, but most importantly, to empower you with knowledge and tools to get you from where you are now to where you want to go. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thanks again, Dr. Israel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates, and join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making